Hey guys, what's good? So I wanted to put out a proper official Feral Druid video for you with the alpha changes that are coming in the War Within. I know I put out a video a couple days ago, but that was not really, that was more so like the NDA was lifting for us alpha testers. I hadn't had much time to check a bunch of stuff out because I'd been busy with my like sort of normal stream content. And so I didn't really get to put out a fantastic video for you guys. I'm also just wanted to showcase at least there were some changes, just in case, you never know who's going to be posting what and what's going to become freely available to people. So I thought, you know what, I'll at least just put out a video for those that might be interested in seeing that there have been some changes. But today I want to like more thoroughly go through some of these changes and maybe discuss the shift in our playstyle or the sort of philosophy redesign coming from the devs. There is an interview that we've got, or I guess like the blue post from the devs discussing what they're trying to do with Feral and some of these changes. So we can talk about that. Whether or not you agree with the devs' philosophy or not is up to you, but they've at least given us one. So that's always good. At least we're getting some communication, and we can always say, oh, well, you're not doing what if they give us sort of they outline the principles that they want to tackle, and then if they execute on that, then it's like, okay, well, at least you've executed on this. If they don't execute on it, then it's like, well, hold on a minute, you've told us you're going to do something here and you haven't done it. We can at least hold them accountable to that. So that's the way I see it. So we'll see looking at that when we talk more so about the playstyle shift. And yeah, I think the general energy that I did a stream yesterday. The general energy that I've been getting from people is overwhelmingly negative. There are people that are upset about certain talents being redesigned or being removed, and the slowness of Feral right now. The fact that we've been kind of dramatically slowed down in comparison to Season 3 of Dragonflight, which I fully understand. I also think generally at the beginning of a new expansion, Feral just is slower anyway. Like that is just if you're going to compare a spec on alpha to the same spec at the end game of the end of the expansion, of course the alpha spec is going to be a lot slower, especially when it comes to Feral, because that's like the crux of our playstyle is like sort of slow gameplay, bleed maintenance, kind of like playing a game of chess of like, what am I going to do next? That's kind of our design. So I think Blizzard wants to lean more into that. But I understand why people are negative. I am a mix right now. I don't fully feel one way or the other. I will say that I've been trying to do a lot of thinking about how I feel about Feral. And at first, I was like kind of positive, then I went kind of negative again, then I've gone positive again. Like I'm kind of just flipping through as more of it is kind of unraveling itself, really. So I don't want to like rush to make a decision on whether or not I'm overwhelmingly negative or positive. What I will say is that I was disappointed to see that there wasn't like sort of more exciting stuff coming in this expansion compared to Dragonflight. Like I was hoping there was going to be some stuff that was really quite cool. We're obviously getting our hero talents, and they're like fine. They're okay for me when it comes to like spectacle, but they haven't like blown me away, which is not the worst thing. I mean, I got this guy over here who's summoning phoenixes and whatever the hell else, meteors from the sky and stuff. Obviously Feral's not going to do that exact same stuff, but yeah, everybody wants something new and exciting. For me, I'm generally I'm gonna kind of give it more time before I kind of give my opinion. I liked Dragonflight though, so I really liked what they did with Feral and Dragonflight for the most part. So the fact that we're keeping mostly more of the same of that is not a bad thing. Like that's actually a good thing. So I'm not like disappointed, but yeah, I'm not exactly like, oh my god, whoa, they've done this, the coolest thing ever with Feral. So without further ado, let me actually like try and get into some of this. So the class tree is obviously changing. I think default, like all I really want to say about the class tree is that they're trying to squeeze 4 specs into one class tree, and we're trying to compete with classes that only have 3 specs, or some even have 2. Obviously, we're going to get shafted. Just bottom line. I would be very, I don't know, maybe they could say, hey, you're a druid, you get 5 additional talent points or something, on top of what we currently have, just to be like, you're going to struggle to kind of hit everything, because they've really broken up into defensives and utility. Like, every side of the tree has bits of utility. The left side has defensives, the right side has healing. But there's, like, also other forms of utility that you're going to struggle to get depending on the spec that you play. So I don't know how Boomkin players feel. Like, I'd be genuinely interested to see what Boomies feel when they're looking at it and they're going to grab all their utility on the right-hand side, and then are they going to go, oh, I'm struggling to get my defenses on the left, or a Boomkin's going to quite comfortably be able to get everything that they want. I don't know. I would be surprised if they were able to get everything that they wanted. They're probably going to have to make a similar sort of decision. So, okay, like, there's some cool things that have been added, though. Fluid Form, this is an interesting talent. It makes it so that when you Rake and Shred can be used in any form, and when you use them, it shifts you into Cat. And then Mangle can be used in any form, and it shifts you into Bear. So you would line this up, you'd probably macro it where it changes the button depending on what form you're in, but you would, like, say you needed to get into Bear form for defensive, or there's also another talent that you can take here on this tree, on the Druid of the Claw here. So Shred and Swipe grant Ursine potential. When you have 8 stacks, the next time you transform to Bear, your next Mangle or Swipe deals 100% increased damage and gives you extra rage. So this is quite cool for, like, Feral. Say that you're going to take a big hit, you're out of utility, this hit's coming in, nothing's going to stop it. You can, like, Mangle into Bear, take the hit, you've done some damage, then you can immediately Shred back into Cat form from Bear form, so it saves you the glow balls, right? Like, it's gonna just allow you to sort of do this power shifting. It can be used defensively or offensively, depends on the damage. I will actually, show you guys how, I can show you right now, actually. Let's take a little look. Let's see how much damage this is gonna be able to produce. I did test it the other day, and I was laughing. I was like, oh man, this hit for barely anything. I was like, this only hit for 8,500. This is nothing. And then I realized later that I'd forgotten to put on a agility weapon. I was still using the default gear that they gave me. Okay, so now I need to drag Mangle, wherever it is. There it is. So let me drag Mangle here. So let's see how much this does. Okay, it didn't do 8,500. It did 9,700. So okay. I don't know. Obviously, it's alpha. Tuning needs to happen. That's not very heavy. It's not a big amount of damage. I would say it was quite weak. But it's alpha. They haven't done tuning yet. So that's, later down the line, that's where the numbers will be shifted and stuff. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on. But this is quite cool. I do like this. In general, it's going to be things like if we need to grab an Innovate, that's not going to be our decision. That's going to be our group's decision. If you're in Raid and your healer needs it, you are taking it. If you're in Mythic Plus and you are playing with a healer that needs it, you are taking it. So that is going to be a case where you're potentially losing some defensive output. There's some other things that we could maybe adjust, like, for example, drop in Cyclone here, but then that doesn't fully quite work. You'd lose Stampeding Roar, so you'd have to, like, there's maybe some things that we can shift around here and there, but, like, realistically, you're going to probably be losing some defensive capability in order to pick up some more utility on the right-hand side of the tree. Nature's Vigil is also really good. Like, very strong. So there are definitely some talents that we want deep right-hand side of this tree. This is going to cause some problems here, I think. I am very happy to get Cyclone back. I do really like Cyclone in Mythic Plus specifically, where I am able to, let's say it's bolstering week, and there's a mob that's about to die and, like, add bolster stacks to something else. It's less of a big deal now because bolster stacks drop off over time and you can't bolster a boss. So less of a big deal now with Cycloning bolstering, but it's something that you can do in clutch plays, potentially also in Bursting Week. There's more so for Bursting Week now with Cyclone, which is really good. If there's a mob, if your group's really dumb and they just keep bursting everything down, and then you're at like 7 stacks and the healer's just barely kept everyone alive, and then there's one more mob and for some reason the BM Hunter is still attacking it, bro. Like, why are you? I can see you shooting it, bro. I can see you. Well, now you can just Cyclone that final mob and hold it. Make sure you don't extend into those 8 stacks. Boom. It's quite nice. And before it's like more awkward to pick up, really. Whereas now it's like center of the tree, so I do quite like that. I am actually just looking at my tree right now, and there's clearly some scuffed things right here. Like, oh, no, yeah, you can start us. Okay, yeah. I was thinking there's no connection between Hibernate and this choice node, and I was like, is my tree broken? But no, you can start from there. So yeah, you're gonna be able to pick up Cyclone quite easily now, which I'm very happy about. It has some application in content, which is good. They've also added some, I mean, they've got Rising Light, Falling Night. We already had that previously. That did get added. They've changed it now, so Feral Druid range is not going to be increased by Astral Influence, which is a real bummer, but this is something they're addressing across the whole board, so or across the whole game. They're reducing melee range to be what it should be, which is like 8 yards. There are a lot of specs like Outlaw and Feral and probably some others that I can't think of right now that have had this extended range, and we're getting to a point, like Blizzard has said, like, melee classes are attacking from a further distance than what you would be expecting. And I can agree, if there's a spec that's like 16 yards out and they're meleeing, you're like, that's a bit far, isn't it? So yeah, or not meleeing, I should say, but you know, they're doing some kind of AoE rotation from quite far out. It's for sure maybe a bit jarring, so I get it, but they are currently, so they've like sort of removed a lot of these spells, but they are for Feral extending our range by 3 yards. So currently they're very clear to word it and say just currently we're gonna leave it at that, but they might change it, maybe they'll return it, maybe they won't. But the Astral Influence is no longer gonna affect our range as Feral, so that's something to keep in mind. Apart from that, with the class tree, it just, you know, keep messing around with it and see what you like. I mean, if you had to pick a dungeon where you had remove corruption and you needed soothe and you needed typhoon and you needed incap, and like, you know, there's like, you can get a lot of utility, but you're gonna have to make some sacrifices. Moving on then to the actual feral tree itself. Again, so I'm not like fully excited or fully disappointed. There have been some changes here. So coiled to spring. If you generate a combo point in excess of what you can store, your next ferocious bite or Promarath deals 10% increased direct damage. This is interesting. Obviously, could for sure have some application. A lot of these talents are going to come down just to number tuning. It's going to come down to putting it into a sim. So I'm not really going to comment too much on whether something is good or bad. Just, you know, whether or not I like the idea of it. They changed Predator, so they've removed the whole like reset when everything dies with a bleed. Instead, it's just going to extend Tiger Fury duration by 5 seconds, flat. And then your combo point generating ability's direct damage is increased by 40% of your haste. So, interesting, definitely pushing you more into a haste playstyle, which I think could naturally do well with some of the other changes where they are reducing our energy. They're putting more stress on our energy management. They're reducing the tricks we have up our sleeve to get energy, or to get access to energy. So that is interesting. Again, could be quite cool. Maybe we play like a haste mastery build with Feral. Maybe we play like a haste crit build. Maybe, you know, maybe it'll shift depending on the content you're in. Raid or like large AoE, dungeons, delves even, who knows. Then we have, I think Tireless Energy also got nerfed a bit. I think the energy regen is lower now. I need to double check the exact numbers, but I think that did get shifted. Tear Open Wound is currently bugged on the alpha, so if you see people not running it, it's not because it's like not good enough to be used anymore, but it is bugged. So it's not, whenever you take it, it's not applying your Primal Wrath consistently to mobs. So that's hopefully something that's going to get fixed. I have reported it, and I'm sure many people have as well. They're changing Taste for Blood. Ferocious Bite deals 15% increased damage and an additional 15% during your Tiger's Fury, so that's pretty cool. We then have some other Tiger Fury talents, which I want to touch on all at once. We have Tiger Fury increases your haste by 8% and energy recovery rate by 20% for 6 seconds, so this is a new talent. This replaces Rampant Ferocity, which was the thing that allowed your Ferocious Bite to cleave in AoE. They've removed that now. And so instead, now we're going to get Tiger's Fury increases your haste by 8% and energy recovery rate by 20% for 6 seconds. So you can see, I mean, if I type in here, if I type in Tiger's Fury, right, you can see just how many talents suddenly start lighting up, like a Christmas tree here. So you can see just how many talents are now being affected by Tiger's Fury. So they're really trying to put some, like they've made some shifts, but they're really putting some emphasis on Tiger Fury sort of strength. And then Raging Fury has been shifted now to, instead of being extending Tiger Fury based on when you're using your finishers, it's now going to just cause Tiger Fury to last an additional 5 seconds period. Now, in general, I think this will be very, like, like very strong when you consider the other talents, where Tiger Fury naturally lasts about, I think, like 10 seconds, and then because I've got these 2 talents, it's going to last 20 seconds. So you can see it's up there. It's up at 20 seconds, and I have only 1 point in CI right now, so it's a 6% damage increase there, so I'm getting 21% damage, but that can go as high as 27% damage increase on your Tiger's Fury, and then you can extend the duration to 20 seconds with a 30-second CD, so you're going to have about a 60% uptime, but when you actually think about it, like, it depends. If you're on a boss, yeah, it'll probably work out to, like, what, 60% uptime, but if you're in Mythic Plus, you'll probably have a higher uptime than that, because if you think about it, if you're killing mobs, depending on how quickly mobs in packs are dying, you might kill mobs within, like, let's say, like, 15 seconds. And then so you've had Tiger Fury for 100% of that uptime of that mob pack. And then as you're moving on to the next pack, you might get into the next pack and Tiger Fury is 5 seconds away from being available again. Okay, well, and then they're going to die in 15 seconds, right? So you're actually going to end up with potentially a lot higher than just a flat, like, 60-ish% uptime on it. It'll depend on how you're using it in dungeons. And if you're just spamming it whenever it's available, like, you're not going to want to be pressing it when mobs are dying in a pack. You're going to be wanting to hold it and wait for the new pack to begin, and then make sure you have Tiger Fury for as much of a duration of that as possible. So you're probably going to find that you actually, like, do have it for a decent uptime in packs, but you're just not going to get that constant energy refresh, which, like, this is the thing, is the devs have kind of commented about it and said that they want to reduce the, I mean, I can probably bring up the notes soon, and we can look at what they've actually said themselves, but, like, the devs want to slow this down. They want to slow Feral down. They want to make energy more of a problem for us, or like more of a thing for us to manage. And I've looked at that, and I've come and played alpha, and I've gone, oh man, this doesn't feel as good. I feel like I'm kind of treading water here. I feel like I'm constantly drowning, and I'm just trying to keep my head above water, and I'm constantly just trying to keep my head above water, and I'm gasping for air. But it's kind of alright, because, like, that's kind of what Feral's supposed to be. We are supposed to be energy limited. And, obviously, I know, like, it's still alpha, we're still very limited gear and all that kind of stuff, so it's only going to get better. But, I kind of just, yeah, I can kind of see what they're going for with that dynamic. And I've gone and played retail again, and I've gone, you know, I am just kind of spamming Tiger Fury in packs, and I'm actually just, I have energy coming out of my ears at this point. Like, it's just, and it does feel a little bit just kind of weird when you go, after playing alpha, when you do go play, like, Dragonflight, and you're just like, yeah, I've got, like, infinite combo points, I've got infinite energy, I'm global locked. I'm not energy locked, I'm global locked. And it is, like, a little bit silly. So I'm actually growing more and more towards this slower playstyle. But that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that it's, like, slower doesn't just mean better. Like, it still has to pop, and, like, what they need to do is, like, they can make us slow, that's fine, but you need to buff our damage where it's big. So, like, the aim in the game should be trying to get your Tiger Fury, get your Blood Talons, get your bleeds up on the targets, and then, like, that should be the challenge. If you're going to make that the challenge, fine, but make everything hit hard. Because if I'm doing that, and then I look across to my buddy, and he's a fire mage, and he's jumping up and dancing, he's not even hard casting, he's jumping up, and he's got a phoenix, and he's dropping meteors, he's having an absolute sick time, and he's chaining combustion into a combustion into a combustion, and I'm sitting here, and I'm, like, literally on it, like, barely getting my Primal Wrath up in time before it drops off, and Tiger's Fury is falling off, and I, you know, like, okay, it's good, you know, it's not going to be as fun for people. I want to talk a little bit now. I mean, there's some other changes as well. Apex Predator now, obviously we've lost Rampant Frosty, so Apex isn't going to cleave. However, it could still be a really good funnel option for us. So that's cool. Those are kind of like the main changes for me, really, that I wanted to talk about. Oh, and then they've made it so, this is another really good change. So they made it so that Berserk now is just a flat 2 minutes, which is so much better than what it was. Like, getting the reduction before was just silly, because if you weren't in combat, you weren't actually benefiting from the reduction. So you just have these, like, really weird, jank, desync issues with Berserk and Convoke, and it was, like, never consistent because it depended on your contact time in combat, and it also depended on, you know, just general factors of what kind of combat you were in, if it was single target, if it was AoE, etc. Like, the more AoE you're doing, sort of the easier the reduction you were getting. Now it's just a flat 2 minutes. So now Berserk is 2 minutes. Your Convoke is 2 minutes if you should choose it. If you take Incon, it'll just be 2 minutes. Like, you can just play around that. And then there's a talent in this tree as well, which makes your Feral Frenzy, the cooldown reduced by 5 seconds, which makes it a 40-second CD, which means it's going to line up perfectly with your 2 minutes. So, like, this is all really good. And obviously, Feral Frenzy will line up with your Tiger Fury as well. But, like, you know, not at the beginning of your Tiger Fury, but partway through. So, like, this is good. It just lines up all your cooldowns a lot better than you did have previously. So I'm happy with that. Cool thing though. So there's a cool thing. Let me talk you guys through some of these hero talents. So I think in general we're probably going to be playing a lot of Druid of the Claw at the moment. Wild Stalker I think has some interesting potential, but like it just doesn't seem quite as connected to us as like Feral does. Obviously we've got like this potential with this like bear shifting and stuff. We've got some general abilities in here that I think are quite strong. So Ravage is basically rampant ferocity. Like they've removed it from our tree and then they put it into our hero tree. So let me read it out. So your auto attacks have a chance to make your next ferocious bite become Ravage. Cool. Finish your moves that slash through your target in a Ravage is a finishing move that slashes through your target in a wide arc, dealing physical damage per combo point to your target, and consuming up to 25 additional energy to increase that damage by up to 100%. Hits all other enemies in front of you for reduced damage per combo point spent. So this is something to note. They've got to be in front of you, so you're going to have to be, you know, adaptable with that in your playstyle. But this is basically Rampant Ferocity coming back. It has a cool new animation. It has a sound. You know, you might like it. Maybe I can showcase this a little bit for you guys. Maybe I can just kind of auto attack and I can show you once we get it. But yeah, that's cool. It changes the icon of your Ferocious Bite. Now, this is something that I have a complaint with, is that it has the same icon as Blood Talons. So you might find yourself in a situation where you confuse yourself with like, oh, I've got a well, okay, I mean, Ravage actually changes on your bars as well, so maybe you're less likely to confuse it. But, there you go, there's the animation. But you might think like, oh, I've got 1 stack of Blood Talons remaining. I'm going to go single target rip this thing. And then you go, oh, no, that was Ravage. Whoops. So, like, you need to be aware of, like, what's actually being procced with your Blood Talons, your Ravage, and, like, obviously, depending on how you have your UI set up, that might be, you might be fine with that. But I'd like to see them change the icon just because it's, when you're looking, I mean, I use default UI when I play WoW. So, for someone like me, that change is quite necessary. And yeah, so that's what it looks like. I'll show you one more time what it sounds like. If we can get it. Come on now. There is a talent you can take in this hero tree which increases, there it is, ready? I think it could be improved. Like, I think that's cool, but it's supposed to be this really special thing, and I think it could be a lot cooler looking. You know, I think when you're doing all of your other abilities, it kind of just melds in, it blends in, so it would be quite cool to see it, like, I don't know, bro. You know what I want to see? I want to see more cats jump in, and they all meow, meow, and they all jump in, and they all start biting and shit. That's what I want to see. Epic. Make it cool. There is a talent you can grab here, which in Massive Attack increases your auto attack speed by 20% for 6 seconds, so that could be pretty cool with, like, getting you, like, Massive Attack is then going to lead to you proccing more Massive Attacks, which is, you know, sort of self-proliferating or, yeah, positive feedback loop, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, there's like some cool abilities on this tree. Massive Attack increases your agility. First Tiger's Fury after entering combat makes your next Ferocious Bite become a Massive Attack, so you can sort of guarantee it early on into combat, which is cool. What this does all mean, by the way, is that Primal Wrath is going to be your predominant sort of AoE ability. And you are going to look to use, like, Bite, but less often. You still have Sabertooth here on the tree. So, but they've made it so that this rip damage increase is only going to affect your primary target. Or the target that you bite. So they're very much making Bite a single target thing now and more of a funnel. But in some cases, that can still be really good and still has really good application. And we know that Apex is good on single target as well. But what this is going to sort of do is, like, Ravage is now going to be our AoE like finisher as well, or like our ability to incorporate Ferocious Bite into our AoE more sort of succinctly, right? So a lot of these talents are based around Massive Attack, and Massive Attack sort of injecting that damage into your rotation. There's things here like Primal Wrath direct damage is increased by 100%. That's pretty gnarly. Again, yeah, Ferocious Bite reduction. Got some crit damage stuff here. So, and then we have Claw Rampage. During Berserk, Shred, Brutal Slash, and Thrash have a 25% chance to make your next Ferocious Bite become a massive attack. So, like, this is all leading into just more massive attacks, just feeding into each other. So, cool. I do like that. One thing to note, I'm going to show you guys, okay. Look, with 25 minutes into the video, there's no way a Feral Druid dev is going to be watching this. Something I want to show you is that if you proc Ravage and then you Convoke, all of your bites in Convoke will be Ravages, so they will cleave and have the benefits of Ravage. However, they will not expend the proc of Ravage. So this is something quite interesting, right? If I get a Ravage here and then I Convoke, watch this, Ravage, 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 and then I still have it available. So, look, that gives Convoke, I mean, that might be intended, because that will give Convoke AoE application, like, but that's a cool little thing to make sure, like, if you're going to Convoke, make sure you hold on to that Ravage just as Convoke is coming up, so that you can get some additional AoE damage during Convoke. I mean, this is a question I got asked the other day, is like, is Convoke good in AoE? And it's like, it used to be when it gave us a bunch of mastery. Nowadays, I mean, it does some rake spreading and a thrash. So I'll be honest, I think to allow Convoke to be a competitive AoE ability, I think that they should maintain that. Another really cool thing, I'm hoping no devs are watching and that they don't change that, so sorry if I get this spec nerfed again. Another interesting thing is our mastery got changed, so now it increases damage by our bleeds and also periodic effects. So this should affect things like adaptive, right? Adaptive also has a new visual. Look at that, it's got a new visual. I think it's a lot. I think it's more like, it looks like pastel, you know, like the like. You know what I'm saying. It, like, I don't know, it has like this interesting new design. It looks more easily readable though, I think. It's more easily readable when it's on a target. You can more clearly see who it's on, which I think is good. And you can see it traveling. Like, I kind of like this. I think visually it like works better, even though if it looks less like bees. So adaptive there is going to benefit from our mastery, and also so is lunar inspiration. And speaking of which, we can show over the wild stalker tree here. But yeah, that's gonna affect, or that should be affecting our adaptive swarm, which is cool. I think that's a good change. Again, this could lead into like haste mastery as a thing more so, and stuff like that, and like maybe on single target if you're running adaptive, you're running lunar, like, you know, that kind of thing. So Wild Stalker is all about like applying these Bloodseeker vines to targets that then do a lot of damage over a period of time, and then the aim of the game is to try to get these to spread to like as many targets as you possibly can, and just naturally doing things in your rotation is gonna cause these blood vines to sort of crop up, and you'll be able to see them physically. They will have a visual. You can see it's very tiny there. I'll try and zoom in. You can see just barely on that mob on the left, it's there. And yeah, so that's kind of like the aim of the game with this. In general, I don't think it's going to be as strong unless they do some interesting number tuning. But like the Druid of the Claw tree just seems to like sort of fit into our feral playstyle and toolkit a lot more than this. Yeah, I mean, you get some cool benefits, like Rake lasts longer, which is kind of neat if you're like like the aim of the game with this, okay, so it's Rip and Rake that are going to be spreading these vines or creating these vines, and then you have other talents which then allow you to spread them. I think this one here, no, yeah, when Bloodseeker vines grow, they have a 10% chance to then jump to other targets. So if you're in mass AoE, like, you're going to have a lot of vines going on, which is kind of neat, and it's all coming from your Rake and your Rip. So, like, Wild Stalker is very Rake Rip heavy, and if you're playing Double Clawed Rake and stuff like that, you're in big AoE. I could see this being pretty neat, pretty fun. You have some cute benefits, like Ursul's Vortex is going to root everything in place, which is kind of neat, but will be broken immediately when you're in combat. So, like, that's pretty neat. And then Bloodseeker Vines increases the damage of your abilities deal to affected enemies by 10%, so you get like a 10% damage bonus whenever you're like fighting things with vines, which is cool. The problem for me with these vines is they don't last very long. Like, I'd rather them do less damage per tick and last longer, because then you sort of are getting the benefit, right? Like, each active Bloodseeker Vine increases your damage by 2%, right? So if these vines lasted, I don't know, closer to maybe like 8 to 10 seconds, then, and you have like 4 or 5 of these active at once, then it feels like a lot more significant, and you can actually play around it a lot more. You might get to a point where you've got a couple vines active, but you're only getting, you know, you're only getting a couple of percent, maybe like 4 to 6% damage increase instead of like that potential 10+%. So I don't know. Again, it'll come down to number tuning, but I like the idea of it. I do think it's quite cute, quite neat. And then the Druid of the Claw seems much more focused around like shredding and brutal slashing or swiping. Like, so you've got sort of dot-based gameplay and you've got instant damage gameplay. So I do like that they managed to make these differences in playstyle with this. So that's quite neat. Yeah, in general, I mean, in general, the hero talents are growing on me. The more that I'm playing with them, they're growing on me more and more. The slowness of the spec is growing on me. Again, it comes down to number tuning. I'm not completely like ecstatic, but I'm like, yeah, I could see this working. I guess I'll briefly give a quick overview of some of these notes here as well. Dude, I haven't cast Adaptive Swarm in about 20 minutes. I've cast 2 of them and then didn't press it again. They are still jumping, bro. This ability is insane. So, okay, yeah, so they've said, like, Feral gained a lot, our top goals for Feral Druid in the War Within are to slow down its rotation a little bit to make energy usage more tactical and to bring more clarity to playing the spec. We're also trying to restore more Tiger's Fury density and excitement, and simplifying some talent functionality to free up more choice in where you spend points. I think Tiger Furies, for me, is my favorite cooldown. It's my favorite cooldown. I love it. And I love playing around this 30-second this 30-second cooldown. It just makes so much sense with the consistency of our damage coming from bleeds. Like, it just, I really like it. So Tiger Fury being stronger makes me happy. Many of these changes will read as nerfs. When I first read this on stream, I laughed because I was just like, imagine they just put a full stop there. Many of these changes will read as nerfs, and then just boom, done. That's the end of the blue post. Like, you know, go with it, run with it. Goal is to build a healthy rotation and talent balance and buff damage to make that rotation competitive. Okay, so here we go. Key right here. This is again why I'm not doom and gloom right now, where I'm not complete doomer. I'm not completely and utterly doomer. Buff damage to make that rotation competitive. This is the key. If we're slow but our damage is high, then it's fine. If we're fast but our damage is low, comparatively, then it's fine, because we're doing more things more often. Feral gained a lot of strong energy generation talents in Dragonflight. As a result, it lost some of its feel as a spec, where sometimes the best thing to do is pause to let a dot tick down or your energy to recover. Absolutely, right now you're just kind of spamming shit. In some environments, Feral had more energy than it could spend and became GCD limited instead of energy limited. Fully agree. I've gone and done some keys last night, and I fully agree. Like, that's how it feels, and it is a bit silly, actually. We're going to pull back on the power of energy generation talents in the War Within. We want players to tactically take a breath now and then to ensure they have energy to refresh Rake or to get ready to activate Blood Talons or to maximize Ferocious Bite damage. Yeah, this is cool. They have nerfed a lot of the energy talents, so I think they've nerfed Tireless Energy. They've also nerfed Soul. I think we get less energy now, if I'm not mistaken. I think they also... No, they didn't nerf MOC. I think MOC is fine. But we have like 5 energy-based talents. I don't know. Can I just type in energy? Okay, I can type in energy and... okay, not all of these are energy-based, but a lot of these are. So they've made some changes to some of these energy talents as well. As part of this, we're removing Predator's ability to reset Tiger's Fury when an enemy dies and changing Oh yeah, when an enemy dies and we're changing Raging Fury. As a result, Tiger's Fury will never have 100% uptime. Maximizing the value of the energy it generates and applying bleeds while it is active will become more of a way to express your skill. Cool. Feral Druid has a lot of factors that influence what button you want to press at any given moment. Some of these are healthy, such as whether to refresh a bleed on a dying target or whether to try to sneak in another ferocious bite before you need to refresh Rip. Yeah, absolutely. These are the kind of things you should be thinking about. But some are difficult for many players to intuit without reading a guide, which I think is pretty normal in WoW. I think that's pretty normal that people need to watch guides. I mean, it just is the case. But yeah. Should you shred or swipe on 2 targets in Berserk? Is Primal Wrath or Ferocious Bite with Rampant Frosty more damage in AoE? Yeah, like these are the kinds of questions I would get asked like several times a day on WoW streams. So yeah, this is another point as well. Actually, they're changing it so that now Berserk is not going to increase damage of your Rake and Shred. It's going to increase all damage of like all abilities by 10%. So like now you're not. So like now in AoE you're going to be swiping when it made sense to already swipe, right? Etc. Want to give every button in Feral's toolset a mostly consistent job. We're removing the bonuses to Shred and Rake in Berserk, and removing bonuses that gave AoE value to Ferocious Bite. Feral's AoE strategy will be based on dealing group damage with Primal Wrath and Terrible Wound while funneling Ferocious Bites into priority targets with Apex Predator. Okay. Take with that what you will. Some of you will be happy with that. Some of you will be unhappy. That's just the way that it is. Some of you will like it. Some of you won't. But I think it's awesome that we're this early into the alpha and Blizzard's already made these changes and gone, hey, Feral Druids, this is why. This is what we're doing. This is our philosophy change. Now it's up to us to hold them accountable to achieve that goal. Or to rebel and say, no, do not do this. But you have to give clear reasons as to why. So either we hold them accountable or we ask for them to change it. For me, right now, honestly, I'm a Final Fantasy 14 man. Who cares, right? No, for me right now, it's like I'll trust the devs. I'll trust them. I'll trust them. There might be, we might have a split faction here. We might have some ferals that like the new thing. We might have some ferals that like the old thing. It'll kind of be like a war within, I think. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you want to see more videos from me in the future and stuff, and if you're enjoying seeing me making more WoW content. Let me know if you have any ideas of stuff you'd like to see me do. Probably do a dungeon playthrough soon. Take care. Love you.